For those of you who have returned to channel, a big thank you. Welcome to those who are new to the station. If the AI gets you, please speed it up to 1.5 times. Sadly, the best I can do until the channel gets bigger. My assistant vanished before she could prove my brother stole my company. Years later, I learned her powerful ex had forced her to leave. Then I woke up 3 months in the past. Main story. Chapter 1. The woman who disappeared the night before Emma Lane was supposed to save my company. She disappeared. No message. No explanation. No testimony. At 9 the next morning, I sat alone at the end of a polished oak table, while 12 members of the Reed Technologies board decided whether I was a visionary or a thief. My younger brother Caleb sat across from me. He wore a navy suit, a silver tie, and the calm expression of a man who already knew the verdict. Behind him, a wall of windows overlooked the city. Reed Tower stood 40 floors above streets crowded with delivery vans, taxis, and people rushing to jobs they could still call their own. By the end of that meeting, I would lose mine. "Mr. Reed," the board chairman said, "your claim is that your brother stole the predictive logistics system currently owned by this company." "I do not claim it," I replied. "I built it." Caleb lowered his eyes as if my words hurt him. He had always been good at that. Even as a boy, he could break a lamp, stand beside the shattered pieces, and somehow convince our parents that I had frightened him into dropping it. The chairman folded his hands. "Your name does not appear on the final development records, because those records were altered. And you have proof." I looked toward the empty chair beside me. Emma's chair. She had found the original server records. She had copied Caleb's messages. She had discovered payments made to 2 engineers who agreed to replace my name with his. More importantly, Emma had been present the night Caleb admitted everything. She was supposed to testify. "Ms. Lane has the proof," I said. Caleb sighed. "Nathan, Emma isn't coming." "You don't know that." "I spoke to her last night." For the first time that morning, my confidence cracked. "What did you say to her?" "Nothing she didn't already understand." The chairman checked his watch. "Ms. Lane was instructed to arrive by 8:30. It is now 9:17. She'll come." Caleb looked at me with something that resembled pity. "She left the city." The doors did not open. Emma did not appear. At 9:35, the board voted to remove me from every leadership position at Reed Technologies. At 10, the company's legal counsel accused me of stealing proprietary data. At 11, my access card stopped working. At noon, 2 security guards escorted me through the lobby of the company I had spent 15 years building. Caleb followed us to the front doors. "You should be grateful," he said quietly. "The board could have pursued criminal charges." I turned toward him. "You threatened her." He smiled. "You always thought Emma was loyal to you. She was loyal to a salary." I hit him. It was the worst decision I could have made, which was probably why Caleb had followed me downstairs. 3 cameras recorded the moment my fist struck his jaw. By the evening news, I was no longer the founder who had been robbed. I was Nathan Reed, the unstable executive who attacked the company's new chief executive officer after being caught stealing intellectual property. My parents released a statement supporting Caleb. The board filed for a protective order. The bank froze my shares until the legal dispute could be resolved. It never was. 3 years later, Reed Technologies collapsed. Caleb had never understood the system he stole. When its predictions began failing, he ordered employees to conceal the losses. Deliveries vanished. Contracts were broken. Customers left. By the time the board discovered what he had done, Caleb had transferred millions of dollars overseas. Our father suffered a stroke after the company entered bankruptcy. Our mother sold the family home. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt empty. Then, 6 years after Emma disappeared, a plain envelope arrived at my apartment. There was no return address. Inside was a letter in Emma's handwriting. Nathan, if you are reading this, then Victor can no longer use your life to control mine. I did not leave because Caleb paid me. Victor threatened to have you arrested before the hearing. He showed me the evidence he and Caleb manufactured. He said that if I testified, you would spend 20 years in prison. I believed him. Maybe that was my greatest mistake. I thought disappearing would protect you. Instead, it left you alone when you needed me most. I am sorry. There was a key taped beneath the letter. It opened a private bank box containing everything Emma had gathered. The original code, Caleb's payments, Victor Hale's banking records, a recording of Caleb admitting that the system was mine. Emma had never betrayed me. She had sacrificed her reputation to protect me. By the time I found her, it was too late to repair anything. She had built a small life in another city, far from Victor, Caleb, and me. She worked in a neighborhood accounting office and volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends. I stood across the street from that shelter one rainy evening. Through the window, I saw Emma kneeling beside a gray cat with one white paw. The animal climbed onto her shoulder while she tried to fill out a form. Emma laughed. I had forgotten what her laugh sounded like. I wanted to cross the street. I wanted to tell her I knew the truth. But before I could move, a delivery truck ran the red light. I heard a horn. I saw white headlights reflected in the rain. Then the world disappeared. When I opened my eyes again, Emma was standing over my desk. She held 2 cups of coffee and wore the pale blue blouse I remembered from the spring before the board hearing. "You're staring at me," she said. I looked around. My office. Reed Tower. The photograph of my parents on the shelf. The calendar on my desk. April 14. 3 months before the hearing. Nathan. I stood too quickly, struck the edge of the desk, and nearly knocked one of the coffees from her hand. Emma rescued it. You almost caused a tragedy. I stared at her. She was younger than the woman I had seen through the shelter window. There were no tired shadows beneath her eyes, no thin scar near her temple, no guarded sadness in her voice. She placed the cups on my desk. "Are you feeling all right?" I walked around the desk and pulled her into my arms. Emma froze. So did I. In our 7 years working together, I had never hugged her. Not once. I released her so quickly that I nearly knocked over the second cup. "I'm sorry." Emma stared at me. "You should be. That coffee cost $6. I thought you were gone." I was gone. The elevator stopped on 23. No, I could not explain. Not yet. Emma examined my face. "Did you sleep here again?" "I don't know." That is not a reassuring answer. She pushed one of the coffees toward me. "Drink this before you attempt any more unexplained displays of emotion." I wrapped both hands around the cup, partly for warmth and partly to make sure I was really holding it. Emma opened her tablet. "Your 9 o'clock meeting with Caleb has been moved to 10. Your father wants the revised projections before lunch. Legal needs approval on the expansion contract, and someone from Hale Continental Bank has called 3 times. My grip tightened. "Who?" "Victor Hale." The name entered the room like cold air. Emma's expression changed for only a second. In my first life, I had noticed many things about Emma Lane. I knew how she organized meetings, how she handled angry clients, and how she could identify a flawed financial report after glancing at it for 30 seconds. I had never noticed the fear behind her silence whenever Victor called. Did he say what he wanted? No. Do not return his call. Emma's eyebrows rose. He is the chief executive of the bank financing our expansion. I don't care. You cared yesterday. Yesterday, I was an idiot. That is an unusually harsh performance review. Emma, listen to me. Whatever Victor asks you to do, whatever he offers, do not meet him alone. The humor vanished from her face. How do you know he contacted me? I did not. Not yet. But I remembered her letter. Victor had not suddenly appeared the night before the board hearing. He must have been watching her long before that. I know what kind of man he is. You've met him twice. That was enough. Emma closed her tablet. What happened to you? I looked into the eyes of the woman I had failed to trust. I got a second chance. She waited for more. I had nothing I could safely give her. Finally, she sighed and picked up her coffee. Well, use it wisely. Most people only get one. After she left, I closed the office door. On my computer sat the predictive logistics system that would destroy my family. At 10 o'clock, Caleb entered without knocking. He leaned against the doorframe, smiling, ready to show me my new software. In my first life, I corrected him. I reminded him that the software was mine. This time I smiled back. Of course. Caleb's confidence flickered. He did not know it yet, but the system on my computer was no longer the original. I had returned 3 months before the hearing. That gave me 90 days to protect Emma, expose Victor, and stop Caleb from taking the company. It also gave me 90 days to correct the worst mistake of my first life. This time when Emma Lane stood beside me, I would believe her, even if the entire world told me not to. Chapter 2. Ledger chooses an office 3 days after my return. Emma found the cat. We were leaving Reed Tower through the underground parking garage when we heard a metallic crash behind a row of executive cars. Emma stopped. What was that? A cat. You can identify animals by the sound of falling garbage. I'm developing new skills. A second crash echoed through the garage. Emma walked toward it. Careful, I said. It weighs 10 pounds. It could be an unusually organized 10 pounds. We found the gray cat standing inside a recycling bin. Only his head and one white paw were visible above the rim. He stared at us with the offended dignity of a judge interrupted during court. Emma crouched. Hello. The cat lowered one ear. I don't think he likes you, I said. He doesn't know me. He appears to have reached a preliminary conclusion. Emma extended her hand. The cat sniffed it, climbed out of the bin, and immediately stepped past her to rub against my trouser leg. Emma looked wounded. I found you. The cat sat on my shoe. He has good judgment. He was eating a sandwich out of the trash. Excellent judgment under difficult circumstances. Emma removed her scarf and wrapped it around him. He accepted this service as if it were expected. I'll take him to the shelter, she said. In my former life, I had seen Emma at an animal shelter with a gray cat. Was this the same one? The cat looked up at me. Something glittered beneath a nearby car. He abandoned my shoe, crawled under the vehicle, and returned with a silver cuff link in his mouth. Emma took it from him. Where did you find this? I recognized the initials engraved into the metal. VH. Victor Hale. The cat had found Victor's cuff link beside my car. Emma saw the initials too. Her face became still. He was here. When? I don't know. She lifted the cat. We're going upstairs. The security office claimed the garage camera had malfunctioned for 12 minutes that afternoon. Victor could have met Caleb without being recorded. Or he could have planted something. Emma and I returned to my car with the head of security. We found no tracking device, but the cat became fascinated with the underside of the rear bumper. He pushed his white paw into a narrow opening and refused to move. The guard crouched and reached beneath the bumper. He removed a black magnetic box. A tracker. Emma stared at it. The guard looked alarmed. I'll contact the police. No, I said. Emma turned toward me. Nathan. Not yet. If Victor planted this, I want him to believe it is still attached. I placed the tracker beneath one of the company's long-distance delivery trucks. It was scheduled to leave for Oregon that night. For the next several days, anyone following the signal would believe I was traveling across the country at 45 miles per hour. Emma held the cat against her chest. He found it. He did. The cat reached toward the guard's radio. Emma moved him away. You cannot arrest people yet. The guard coughed to hide a laugh. What are you going to do with him? Emma looked at me. I suppose I'll keep him until we find his owner. The cat bit the corner of her tablet case. She lifted it out of reach. He needs a name. Tracker. No. Cufflink. Absolutely not. Chairman. That sounds familiar. The cat tried to climb into her handbag. Emma pulled him out, but he emerged holding a receipt. What about Ledger? I asked. She glanced at the cufflink, the tracker, and the receipt now hanging from his mouth. Because he collects financial records. Because he apparently intends to audit everyone. Ledger came to the office the next morning. Emma claimed it was temporary. The veterinarian could not examine him until the afternoon, and she refused to leave him alone in her apartment. Ledger spent the first hour sleeping on her desk. Then Caleb arrived. The cat opened one eye. Caleb looked at him. Why is there an animal in the executive suite? Ledger stood. Emma reached for him. Do not. Too late. Ledger leaped from the desk and landed on Caleb's shoulder. Caleb shouted. Ledger used the expensive fabric of his jacket to climb onto the top of his head. I turned toward the window. My shoulders shook. Nathan, get this thing off me. Emma attempted to collect Ledger while apologizing between bursts of laughter. The cat finally released Caleb's hair and returned to her arms. Caleb's neat blonde hair stood upright on one side. I'll have security remove it. No, I said. Caleb straightened his jacket. This is an office, not a petting zoo. He found a tracking device beneath my car. Caleb went still. Did he? His surprise was convincing. That made me more certain he knew about it. I'm taking precautions, I said. Caleb glanced at Emma. Maybe your assistant should focus on her actual responsibilities. Emma's smile vanished. In my first life, I had allowed comments like that to pass because I thought defending Emma would embarrass her. This time I stepped between them. Emma is director of operations effective immediately. Caleb laughed. You can't promote her without board approval. I checked I can. You're promoting your secretary to an executive position because her cat found something under your car. No, I'm promoting her because she has been doing executive work for 5 years, while people like you took credit for it. Emma looked at me. Caleb's face hardened. You'll regret this. Probably, but not as much as you will. After Caleb left, Emma placed Ledger on the floor. The cat strutted after him, as if making sure he truly departed. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yes, I did. Why now? Because I should have done it years ago. She studied me. You have been different all week. Better or worse? I haven't decided. Ledger returned carrying something blue. Emma picked it up. It was Caleb's access badge. We both stared at the cat. He stole that from Caleb, she said. Allegedly. Nathan. There were no witnesses. Emma tried to look stern, but a smile escaped. I had seen that smile many times without understanding what it did to me. This time I understood. It made the office seem warmer. It made the coming fight feel less impossible. It made me want things beyond revenge. I wanted mornings with her. I wanted bad coffee and stolen access cards. I wanted to hear her laugh when there was no board meeting waiting to ruin our lives. Emma looked down at the badge in her hand. I'll return it. Make a copy first. Her smile faded. You're serious? I need to know what Caleb is accessing. You're asking me to spy on your brother. I'm asking you to help me protect the system he intends to steal. Emma looked toward the glass wall, separating my office from the executive suite. What aren't you telling me? Too much. That needs to change. It will. When? When I can explain it without sounding insane. Ledger jumped onto my desk and sat on the keyboard. A long line of the letter G appeared across my report. Emma lifted him. He thinks you should start with the truth. I think he wants lunch. Those are not mutually exclusive. Before she left, I called her name. Emma. She turned. If I asked you to leave this company with me, would you? The question surprised both of us. She held Ledger a little tighter. Are you planning to leave? Not yet. Then ask me when you mean it. The office door closed behind her. On my screen, Ledger's contribution remained. For once, the cat's analysis was accurate. I needed to stop hesitating. Chapter 3. An empty office. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing to lose everything. Quietly, I transferred my independent patents into a new corporation called Northstar Logistics. The company had no office, no employees, and almost no capital. It also owned the clean version of the predictive system. The version Caleb planned to steal from Reed Technologies contained small, carefully designed errors. They would not harm customers because the system had not yet been activated. They would, however, identify every server that accessed the code. Emma helped me reorganize the development files without knowing my full plan. She asked fewer questions than she should have. That made me feel worse. One evening, we sat alone in my office while rain tapped against the windows. Ledger occupied the guest chair. He had somehow learned that if he sat upright and stared at Emma long enough, she would give him a bite of chicken. Stop rewarding him, I said. He looks hungry. He ate 12 minutes ago. Ledger placed one white paw on Emma's knee. She gave him another bite. You have no discipline. He had a difficult childhood. We found him in a parking garage 2 weeks ago. You have invented an entire tragic history. Ledger ate the chicken and immediately began staring again. Emma narrowed her eyes. I may have created a problem. You created a consultant. He contributes nothing. He found a tracker and stole Caleb's badge. He also deleted half my email draft. Strategic editing. She laughed softly. That sound stirred a memory of the shelter window in my previous life. I had waited too long then. I would not wait now. Emma, why did you divorce Victor? Her hand stopped halfway to ledger. That is personal. I know. Then why are you asking? Because he is working with Caleb. The room became very quiet. How do you know? I saw banking transfers between Caleb and Hale Continental. That part was true. I had found the first payments earlier that day, exactly where the documents from my first life suggested they would be. Emma stood and walked toward the windows. What kind of transfers? Victor is financing a shell company. Caleb is using it to purchase Reed Technologies' debt. My bank holds that debt. Not for long. If our share price falls, the shell company can force a restructuring. And Victor controls the shell company. With Caleb. Emma crossed her arms. What does this have to do with me? I think Victor intends to use you. Her expression cooled. You think he can? No, I think he will try. You didn't answer my question. Why do you want to know about our marriage? Because I need to understand what he might do. Emma looked down at the city. For a long moment, she said nothing. Victor never hit me, she said finally. I remained silent. Sometimes people hear the word controlling and imagine shouting or violence. Victor rarely raised his voice. He didn't need to. He arranged things. What things? Everything, our apartment, my clothes, our vacations. He convinced my employer to transfer me closer to his office without asking me. When I told him I wanted to start my own consulting firm, he purchased the building I planned to rent. I felt cold despite the warm office. He bought it to help you. He bought it so he could decide whether I was allowed to use it. She turned toward me. When I left, he told everyone I was exhausted and emotionally confused. He said I needed time. Even my friends began asking when I planned to forgive him. I'm sorry. I don't want pity. That is what this is. What is it? Anger partly. Guilt mostly. Something softer beneath both. I wish I had noticed. You were my employer. I was your friend. Emma's face gentled. Yes, you were. Was. You still are when you aren't interrogating me. Ledger jumped off the chair and approached the windows. He stared at his reflection, puffed up his tail, and retreated behind Emma's ankle. She looked down. That is you, Ledger. The cat peeked around her shoe. He doesn't trust the other cat, I said. He has excellent instincts. It does look suspicious. Emma smiled, but nervousness remained in her eyes. I haven't spoken to Victor in 2 years. He called this office. He does that sometimes. You told me he contacted you directly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She looked away. When? Last week. What did he want? To apologize. He is lying. I know. What else? He asked me to dinner. Did you agree? Her gaze snapped back to mine. The question had sounded sharper than I intended. That is not your decision. I know. Do you? I rose. I'm not trying to control you. Then trust me to handle Victor. I trusted you once. The words escaped before I could stop them. Emma's expression changed. What does that mean? In my mind, I was back in the boardroom, staring at her empty chair. I remembered the anger I carried for 6 years. I remembered discovering how wrong I had been. It means I know what it is like to believe you have left when you haven't. Nathan, you are not making sense. I know. Ledger jumped onto the windowsill and struck his reflection with one paw. He lost his balance, slid backward, and landed in a wastebasket. The tension broke. Emma hurried over and pulled him out. The cat emerged with a sticky note attached to his head. I started laughing. Emma tried not to. Ledger stared at us in betrayed silence. I'm sorry, she told him. That only made me laugh harder. Eventually, Emma laughed too. For one unexpected minute, there was no Victor, no Caleb, and no future disaster. There was only Emma holding an offended cat, while we both struggled to breathe. When the laughter faded, she brushed the note from Ledger's fur. I'm not going back to Victor. Relief hit me so powerfully that I had to look away. You don't owe me that promise. No, but I want you to know. Thank you. She placed Ledger on the chair. I am going to meet him. My relief vanished. He claims he has information about Caleb. It is a trap. Probably. I'm going with you. No. Emma. If you appear at dinner, Victor will know we suspect him. I don't care. I do. You promoted me because you trust my judgment. Was that real? Yes. Then let me do my job. Every instinct told me to refuse. But love without trust was another kind of control. Wear a recording device. She considered it. Fine. I will be nearby. Across the street. Inside the restaurant. Across the street. Outside the kitchen. Nathan. Across the street. Emma held out her hand. I took it. The contact lasted only a moment, but neither of us released the other immediately. Ledger jumped between us, apparently concerned that a potentially edible transaction was happening without him. Emma picked him up. He'll stay with you. I'm not babysitting. He likes you. He attempted to eat my tie. That is how he expresses affection. The dinner was scheduled for Friday night. On Friday afternoon, everything changed. The board called an emergency meeting. Caleb presented evidence that I had transferred corporate assets into North Star Logistics. He accused me of preparing to abandon Reed Technologies. My father demanded an explanation. I could not reveal the truth without warning Caleb. So I gave the only answer I could. I have no explanation you will believe. My father stared at me from the head of the table. Then you leave me no choice. The board suspended me. My access was revoked. Security waited outside. Just like before. Except this time, Emma was beside me. Caleb watched her. You can stay, he said. None of this needs to affect your position. Emma removed her badge. She set it on the table. If he goes, I go. Caleb's smile disappeared. My father looked shocked. Ms. Lane, think carefully. I have. You would throw away your career for my son. Emma picked up her bag. No, Mr. Reed, I am choosing my career. Your company simply stopped deserving it. We rode the elevator down in silence. Ledger was waiting in the lobby inside his carrier. Emma had brought him to work because of the dinner. When the elevator opened, he began meowing so loudly that every receptionist turned. Emma opened the carrier. Ledger walked out, crossed the marble floor, and sat on the Reed Technologies logo. Then he began washing one hind leg. I looked at Emma. Is that a statement? A hostile takeover. Outside, rain had started falling. We stood beneath the tower's awning with 2 boxes of belongings, one furious cat, and no jobs. What now? Emma asked. I looked at the company that had just rejected us. Then I looked at her. Now I ask properly. She waited. Emma Lane, will you leave Reed Technologies and build a new company with me? Her hair stirred in the cold wind. As your assistant. As my equal. She looked down at Ledger. What do you think? Ledger climbed into one of my boxes and sat on my framed business degree. Emma smiled. He accepts. What about you? She held out her hand. I accept. This time when I took it, I did not let go. Chapter 4. The company with 3 employees, North Star Logistics, began in an empty office above a bakery. The rent was cheap because the heating failed twice a week, and the elevator made a noise Emma described as a mechanical cry for help. Our office contained 2 desks, 4 chairs, 1 borrowed printer and ledger. Emma appointed herself Chief Operating Officer. She appointed me Chief Executive. Ledger became Head of Acquisitions because he kept acquiring objects from neighboring offices. During our first week, he collected 3 pens, a stress ball, a shoelace, and half a cheese sandwich. The sandwich was returned under protest. We worked 16-hour days. Emma contacted former clients who trusted us. I rebuilt the clean version of the predictive system. We hired Priya Shah, an engineer who had helped create the original software before Caleb removed her name from the project. Then we hired Martin Bell, a retired delivery manager who understood routes better than any algorithm. Our first investor presentation took place at a folding table. Halfway through, Ledger jumped onto the projector. His tail covered the projected revenue graph. Emma lifted him. I apologize. Our head of acquisitions is reviewing the numbers. The investor laughed. He did not give us money, but he introduced us to someone who did. Little by little, North Star grew. So did the distance between Emma and me. Not emotional distance. Physical distance became increasingly difficult to maintain. We worked side by side. We ate dinners from the same takeout containers. When the heating failed, she wrapped herself in my coat while pretending she was not cold. Sometimes I looked up and found her watching me. Sometimes she caught me doing the same. Neither of us said anything. The night of her dinner with Victor arrived 2 weeks after our departure from Reed Technologies. Emma wore a dark green dress beneath a black coat. When she entered the office, I forgot every word I had prepared. She stopped. What? Nothing. You're staring. I know. Her cheeks colored. Ledger wound around her ankles. She looked down. At least someone appreciates the effort. I appreciate it. The words came out too quickly. Emma's eyes lifted to mine. You look beautiful. Her expression softened. Thank you. I wanted to tell her not to go. Instead, I fixed the small recording device inside the clasp of her handbag. My fingers brushed hers. Victor will try to upset you. He usually succeeds. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. For the company. For myself. She took a breath. I spent years arranging my life around avoiding him. I want that to end. I nodded. If you need me, call. I know. If you can't call, send any message. I know. If you feel unsafe, Nathan. Right. She touched my sleeve. I'll be careful. Ledger attempted to climb her dress. Emma caught him. You are not invited. He meowed. You don't own formal clothing. He meowed again. I accepted him from her. He says that is discrimination. The restaurant stood across from a small hotel. I waited in the hotel lobby with Ledger inside his carrier. The cat objected to confinement. "You are undermining a sensitive operation," I whispered. He pushed one paw through the carrier door. A hotel guest looked at us. I pretended not to be negotiating with a cat. Through the restaurant window, I saw Emma sit across from Victor. He looked exactly as I remembered. Silver at his temples, perfectly tailored suit, polite smile. Victor never looked threatening. That was his greatest weapon. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. Then Victor placed a folder on the table. Emma opened it. Her face changed. My phone vibrated. A message from her. "He has copies of North Star's loan applications." Victor was monitoring us. I typed back, "Leave." Emma did not move. Victor leaned forward. My phone vibrated again. "He says Caleb will accuse me of stealing Reed data." I stood. Ledger meowed from the carrier. "Fine." I opened it. He leaped out and sprinted across the hotel lobby. "Ledger." The cat crossed through the revolving door. I chased him into the rain. He ran directly toward the restaurant. A waiter opened the door at exactly the wrong moment. Ledger shot inside. He passed beneath 3 tables, startled a woman carrying soup, and leaped onto Victor's chair. Victor stood abruptly. Ledger climbed his suit. Emma stared. I entered seconds later, soaked and out of breath. The dining room went silent. Victor removed Ledger from his shoulder with cold precision. "Nathan." "Victor." Emma covered her mouth. I could not tell whether she was shocked or trying not to laugh. Victor placed Ledger on the table. The cat stepped onto his bread plate. "I thought we agreed you would wait across the street," Emma said. "I did." She looked at Ledger. He disagreed. Victor wiped one sleeve with a napkin. "I see you've acquired a pet." "He's an executive," I replied. "That explains North Star's recent decisions." Ledger placed one paw in Victor's water glass. Emma took him before he could knock it over. Victor looked between us. "You came quickly, Nathan." I was nearby. Across the street. Emma stood. "This meeting is over." Victor's calm expression tightened. "I haven't finished." "I have." He looked at her. "You always did confuse defiance with independence." I stepped forward. Emma placed one hand against my chest. The touch stopped me. She did not need me to speak for her. "Victor," she said, "you mistook control for love. I won't make the same mistake again." His eyes moved to her hand on my chest. "You think he's different?" "Yes." "Because he lets you play executive in a rented office." "Because when I tell him to stop, he does." I stepped back. Victor noticed. For the first time, his smile failed completely. "Caleb will destroy your company." "Then we'll build another," Emma said. "You always were talented at romanticizing failure. And you were always talented at making a prison look like a gift." She walked past him. I followed with Ledger tucked beneath one arm. Outside, Emma took 3 quick steps under the awning before she began laughing. I stared at her. He put his paw in Victor's water. I saw. He sat on his bread. I also saw that. Ledger blinked innocently. Emma laughed harder. I joined her. Rain fell beyond the awning, turning the streetlights into blurred gold. When our laughter faded, Emma realized I was still holding her handbag. "You recorded everything," I said. "Did we get anything useful?" Enough to prove he has confidential banking documents. Not enough to expose the partnership. No. She shivered. I removed my coat and placed it around her shoulders. You'll be cold. I'm already wet. She slipped her arms into the sleeves. The coat nearly swallowed her. Thank you for coming. You told me to stay across the street. You did, Ledger didn't. Plausible deniability. She looked at the cat. Did you throw him into the restaurant? I would never. Ledger sneezed. Do not testify, I told him. Emma smiled. Then she stepped closer. I meant what I said in there. Which part? That you're different. I could feel the warmth of her through my coat. I haven't always been. You are now. A taxi passed, scattering water along the curb. Neither of us moved. I lifted one hand toward her face, slowly enough that she could stop me. She did not. My fingers brushed a damp strand of hair from her cheek. Emma looked at my mouth. Ledger chose that moment to push both front paws against my chin. Emma laughed and stepped back. I stared at the cat. You did that deliberately. He began purring. He has boundaries, Emma said. He was eating garbage when we met him. And now he has standards. I hailed a cab. Emma climbed in with Ledger while I stood in the rain. Before closing the door, she leaned out and kissed my cheek. Good night, Nathan. The taxi pulled away. I remained on the curb, touching the place her lips had been. For the first time since returning to the past, I forgot about revenge. Chapter 5. A listening cat. Victor retaliated on Monday. Hale Continental rejected North Star's loan application. 3 investors withdrew. Our landlord received an offer to sell the building. By Wednesday, we had 30 days to leave. Caleb filed a lawsuit accusing North Star of stealing Reed Technologies' property. My parents publicly supported him. Every business reporter in the city repeated the same story. Nathan Reed had been removed from his family's company and was now attempting to destroy it with help from his former assistant. Emma was described as ambitious, manipulative, and romantically involved with me. The last accusation was the only one I wished were true. Emma handled public criticism better than I did. She continued working. She reassured employees. She called clients personally. But late one night, I found her alone beside the office window with her phone turned face down on the desk. What happened? Nothing. Emma. She handed me the phone. The messages were from former colleagues. Some accused her of using me to advance her career. Others claimed she had betrayed Reed Technologies. One message contained a photograph from her marriage to Victor. Beneath it, someone had written, "You had a real life and threw it away for a man who can't save himself." I set the phone down. Who sent this? An unknown number. Victor. Probably. I'll stop him. How? I don't know yet. That's what worries me. She sat on the edge of the desk. I don't need you to fight every battle for me. I know. I chose North Star. I know. If it fails, I will still have chosen it. It won't fail. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise you won't face it alone. Her eyes glistened. She looked away before tears could fall. I moved closer, leaving enough distance for her to choose. Emma reached for my hand. Her fingers slipped between mine. I'm tired, she whispered. You can rest. What if everything collapses while I do? Then I'll pick it up. And if you're tired too, we'll make Ledger do it. The cat was sleeping inside an open file cabinet. At the sound of his name, he lifted his head. Emma smiled. He's management, he'll delegate. I squeezed her hand. We'll take turns. She leaned against my shoulder. We remained that way for several minutes, watching rain move against the glass. No declarations. No promises we could not keep. Just her head on my shoulder and her hand in mine. It was sweeter than any imagined future. The next morning, Ledger found the listening device. Emma had brought him to her apartment after the late night. While she showered, he began scratching beneath a side table. She assumed he had found an insect. Instead, he dragged a small black object into the kitchen. Emma brought it to North Star in a plastic bag. Priya examined it. Audio transmitter, she said, professional quality. Victor had been inside Emma's apartment. Or someone working for him had. Emma's face went pale. I wanted to destroy the device. Instead, we turned it into a weapon. For 2 weeks, we held carefully scripted conversations near the transmitter. We discussed a false launch date, a false warehouse location, a false investor. Most importantly, we talked about an imaginary defect in the predictive system. Caleb took the bait. Reed Technologies announced its own platform would launch 2 days before ours. Caleb publicly claimed it could solve the exact imaginary defect we had discussed in Emma's apartment. Only someone listening through the device could have known about it. It connected Caleb to Victor's surveillance. But we still needed proof of the larger conspiracy. Then Victor made his offer. A courier delivered an envelope to Emma. Inside was a photograph of her and Victor leaving the restaurant. The angle made them appear close. There was also a contract. Victor offered to clear my name, withdraw North Star's debt, and provide funding in exchange for Emma returning to Hale Continental as an executive advisor. The contract included a public reconciliation campaign. Victor wanted Emma to announce that she had left him during a period of emotional confusion and now regretted it. He wanted her reputation restored through his ownership of the story. At the bottom he had written, "You can save Nathan this time." Emma showed me the contract in our office. "He knows about the board hearing," she said. My pulse stopped. "What?" he said this time. I took the letter. Those exact words had appeared in her message from my first life. "You can save Nathan this time." Victor remembered something. Maybe not everything, but enough. Do not answer him. I already did. Fear sharpened my voice. What did you say? I accepted. The room seemed to tilt. Emma stepped closer. Not for real. You are not going near him. Nathan. No. She flinched. I had raised my voice. I lowered it immediately. I'm sorry. We need his records. If he believes I'm returning, I can access his private office. It is too dangerous. It is my decision. He forced you to disappear once. The words hung between us. Emma stared at me. When? I said nothing. You keep speaking as if these things have already happened. I sat down. The truth sounded impossible. But lies had already destroyed us once. So I told her. I told her about the hearing. Her empty chair. The company's collapse. Her letter. The shelter. The truck. The morning I awakened 3 months in the past. Emma listened without interrupting. Ledger climbed onto the desk between us and sat on the contract. When I finished, the office remained silent. You believed I betrayed you, she finally said. For 6 years. And when you learned the truth, I found you. Did you speak to me? No. Why? I thought I had ruined too much. She looked down. Then you died. Yes. And now we're here. Yes. Emma reached for Ledger, pressing her face briefly against his fur. He tolerated this for 3 seconds, then attempted to eat the contract. She pulled it away. Victor may remember too. I think he remembers fragments, enough to know you sacrificed yourself. And Caleb. I don't know. She walked to the window. If we repeat the same choices, we may get the same ending. That is why I won't let you go to Victor. No, that is why you have to. I stood. Emma. In your first life, I acted alone because I thought you wouldn't trust me. I trust you now. Then prove it. She turned. I will pretend to return to Victor. You will let him believe he has separated us. Caleb will grow careless. Victor will give me access because he will want to show me the empire he thinks I abandoned. And if something goes wrong, you come for me. I came too late before. Then come earlier. The simplicity of her faith hurt. I crossed the room. Why are you willing to risk this? For North Star. That isn't the whole answer. No. She touched my face. For you. I covered her hand with mine. Emma, she kissed me. It was gentle, uncertain, and over too quickly. She drew back. I wanted to do that before I lost my nerve. I rested my forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the rain. Then you are surprisingly patient. I was trying to respect Ledger's boundaries. A crash came from behind us. Ledger had pushed Victor's contract off the desk and was sitting on it. Emma looked over her shoulder. He rejects the terms. He drives a hard bargain. I kissed her again. This time, Ledger allowed it. For nearly 10 seconds. Then he began chewing my shoelace. Chapter 6. The Return of Mrs. Hale. The announcement appeared 3 days later. Victor Hale and Emma Lane consider reconciliation after years apart. The photograph showed Victor helping Emma from a car. She wore the green dress from their restaurant meeting. Her expression was unreadable. Beside the article was a statement claiming Emma had resigned from North Star. That part was necessary. It still hurt. We did not see each other for 9 days. Victor monitored her phone, her apartment, and her movements. Our only communication came through Ledger. Victor allowed Emma to keep the cat because he considered him harmless. This proved Victor was less intelligent than he believed. Ledger wore a blue collar lined with a thin data strip designed by Priya. Every evening, he wandered through Victor's home. When Emma removed his collar at night, it contained copies of nearby wireless signals. On the 3rd day, Ledger returned with access data from Victor's study. On the 5th, his collar recorded the identification code of a private banking server. On the 7th, he stole a small brass key. Emma photographed it and attached the image to a harmless social media post about Ledger's new toy. Priya identified the key as belonging to a Hale Continental Executive Deposit box. Ledger was becoming an accomplished criminal. I was very proud. Victor announced the reconciliation gala for Friday night. Every major investor, reporter, and board member would attend. Caleb would be there. So would my parents. The plan was simple. Emma would enter Victor's private office during the gala and copy the banking records linking Hale Continental to Caleb's shell company. Then she would upload them to North Star's secure server. Simple plans are often the most dangerous. At 7:30, Emma entered the ballroom on Victor's arm. I watched through the building's security system from a van parked 2 streets away. Priya sat beside me with 3 laptops. Martin monitored the gala's delivery entrance. Ledger appeared on camera wearing a black bow tie. Emma had insisted on that detail. "He looks ridiculous," Priya said. "He looks distinguished. He is licking a flower arrangement." Networking. At 8:15, Victor took the stage. He spoke about forgiveness, second chances, and the value of loyalty. Every word sounded stolen. Emma stood beside him. Her smile looked convincing to everyone except me. I could see the tension in her shoulders. At 8:27, she left the ballroom. Ledger followed. They entered Victor's private elevator. Priya tracked the signal from the cat's collar. 26th floor. The elevator doors opened. Emma walked toward Victor's office. Ledger stopped halfway down the corridor. His tail puffed up. Someone was there. Caleb stepped into view. Emma froze. Even through the silent security feed, I saw the surprise on her face. Caleb pointed toward the office. He had been waiting. "It's a trap," I said. Priya began typing. "I'm unlocking the service entrance." I left the van. Inside Victor's building, the gala continued 20 floors below. I took a service elevator to 25 and ran up the stairs. Emma's recording device transmitted broken pieces of conversation to Priya, who relayed them through my earpiece. Caleb laughed. "So you really thought Victor trusted you?" Emma answered calmly. "He trusts me more than you. He knows you're helping Nathan." My feet struck the stairs faster. "He knew Nathan would send you here," Caleb continued. "That is why we prepared something for you to find." "What?" "Records showing Nathan moved Reed Technologies' money into North Star. Manufactured evidence. The same strategy as before. If you upload those records," Caleb said, "Nathan will be arrested before midnight." Emma's voice remained steady. "And if I walk away?" "Victor forgives you." "I don't want his forgiveness." Caleb sighed. "You always were difficult." I reached the 26th floor door. Locked. Priya worked remotely. 3 seconds. The lock clicked. I entered the corridor. Caleb stood outside Victor's office. Emma faced him. Ledger was nowhere in sight. Caleb saw me first. "Nathan." Emma turned. Relief crossed her face. Then Victor stepped from the office behind her. He held Ledger beneath one arm. The cat looked deeply insulted. Victor stroked his fur. "I believe this belongs to Emma." "Put him down," I said. Victor smiled. "You came earlier this time." The words confirmed it. He remembered. "How much do you know?" I asked. "Enough." "What happened to you?" "The same thing that happened to you, a regrettable death, a fortunate mourning." Emma looked between us. Victor continued. "In my previous life, Caleb destroyed Reed Technologies before I could acquire it. You vanished, Emma disappeared, and I lost years repairing the damage. You threatened her." "I gave her a choice." "You threatened to send Nathan to prison," Emma said. "To protect you from his failure." Her face hardened. "You still don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You left me for a man who loses everything. And I would choose him again." Victor's fingers tightened slightly in Ledger's fur. The cat responded by biting him. Victor shouted and released him. Ledger landed on the carpet and sprinted into the office. Caleb moved toward him. I blocked the doorway. Emma rushed inside after the cat. Victor grabbed her arm. I struck his hand away. Caleb lunged at me. We crashed against the wall. He was stronger than I remembered, but anger made him careless. I shoved him back. Victor pressed a button beside the door. An alarm sounded. "Security is coming," he said. "When they arrive, they will find Nathan Reed attacking the chief executive of Hale Continental, while Emma steals confidential banking records. The same kind of trap that destroyed me before." But Emma was not alone this time. "Priya," I said loudly now. Every screen in Victor's office lit up. The private banking records appeared across them. Victor stared. Emma stood beside his computer. "I didn't need to access your files," she said. "Ledger already did." The brass key had not been our only prize. The cat's collar had copied the authentication signal from Victor's banking token each time he entered the study at home. Priya used that signal to access the shell company records remotely. Payments from Victor to Caleb filled the screens. Loans designed to force Reed Technologies into default. Transfers to engineers who altered my development records. Payments to security contractors who entered Emma's apartment. Victor reached for the computer. Emma stepped in front of it. Caleb ran. He made it halfway to the service elevator before Martin and 2 police officers entered the corridor. We had sent the first evidence to the Financial Crimes Unit that morning. Emma had never been alone. Victor looked at her. "You planned this." "We planned it." His eyes moved to me. "You'll still lose the company." "Maybe." "And your family. They made their choice. You think love will compensate for everything you sacrifice." Emma took my hand. "No," I said, "but it reminds me what is worth saving." Ledger emerged from beneath Victor's desk, carrying a black memory card in his mouth. Priya's voice sounded through my earpiece. "That may be the backup drive." Emma crouched. Ledger placed it in her hand. She kissed the top of his head. Victor stared at the cat. "I never liked that animal." Ledger sneezed at him. Security arrived seconds later, followed by investigators. Victor Hale was escorted from his own office. Caleb was detained downstairs. Emma and I remained by the windows while the city lights spread beneath us. Her hand trembled in mine. "It's over," I said. "No, not yet." She was right. Caleb had one final performance planned. The Reed Technologies shareholder meeting was scheduled for the next morning. And he still believed the board would choose him. Chapter 7. The last board meeting. The Reed Technologies auditorium was full by 9. Caleb stood backstage under supervision. He had not yet been arrested because his attorneys argued that the financial transfers could have legitimate explanations. Victor had refused to cooperate. My parents sat in the front row. My father looked older than he had 3 months earlier. My mother would not meet my eyes. The board intended to vote on a new chief executive. Caleb assumed he could survive. He had already told reporters that Victor acted alone. He blamed Emma for manipulating the evidence and claimed I had targeted the company out of jealousy. At 9:10, Caleb stepped onto the stage. "Reed Technologies has endured a calculated attack," he began. The large screen behind him displayed the company logo. "Our former executive, Nathan Reed, has attempted to damage this company because he could not accept the board's decision." I entered through the side doors. Emma walked beside me. Ledger rode in a carrier held by Priya. He was not pleased about missing the stage. The audience turned. Caleb continued speaking, but his eyes followed us. We sat in the front row. My father leaned toward me. Nathan, stop this before the family is destroyed. I'm not destroying it. You gave the records to the police. Caleb gave them something worth finding. My mother looked at Emma. You did this to him. Emma remained calm. No, Mrs. Reed. I stopped accepting blame for what your son chose to do. Caleb would never. Which son? My mother fell silent. On stage, Caleb invited the company's lead engineer to verify that he created the predictive system. The engineer approached the microphone. He looked at Caleb, then at me. I cannot verify that. Caleb's face changed. What? The engineer swallowed. The original system was developed by Nathan Reed, Priya Shah, and their team. Murmurs spread through the auditorium. Caleb moved toward him. You signed a statement. After you threatened to fire everyone in my department. Another engineer stood in the audience. Then another. Priya had spent weeks contacting them. One by one, they told the truth. Caleb demanded that security remove us. No one moved. I walked onto the stage. You stole my system, I said. You altered the records and paid employees to support your version. Caleb faced the audience. He has no proof. Emma joined me. Yes, we do. She connected the memory card ledger found in Victor's office. A video appeared on the screen. Caleb sat across from Victor, inside the Hale Continental Executive Lounge. The recording had been made weeks earlier. Caleb's voice filled the auditorium. When Nathan reacts, the board will remove him. Emma is the only risk. Victor replied, I can control Emma. And if she chooses him, she won't have a choice. The video continued. They discussed the shell company, the false evidence, the plan to acquire Reed Technologies after its share price collapsed. My mother covered her mouth. My father stared at Caleb. You plan to bankrupt us. Caleb's composure shattered. I plan to save the company from Nathan. You plan to own it, I said. You always had everything. His anger echoed through the auditorium. You had father's respect. You had the engineers. You had the ideas. Even when I became CEO, people still asked what Nathan thought. So you destroyed thousands of careers. I deserved something of my own. Then you should have built it. Caleb looked at Emma. And you, he barely noticed you until he needed someone to rescue him. The accusation found its target. I felt Emma's hand tense. Caleb saw it. He stepped closer. You think you're his equal. You're convenient. When this is over, he'll return to his family and you'll become his assistant again. I took the microphone. He is right about one thing. Emma turned toward me. I did not see her clearly before. The room became silent. I saw Emma solve problems, repair negotiations, and hold teams together. I thanked her by giving her more work. When she warned me about Caleb, I called it caution. When she challenged me, I called it loyalty. I faced her. In another life, I lost her because I did not trust what she had already proven. I will regret that for as long as I live. Her eyes filled. I turned back to the shareholders. Emma Lane built North Star with me. She owns half of it. Every patent, every contract, and every decision belongs equally to both of us. Caleb laughed bitterly. North Star is a rented office with 6 employees. 8, Emma corrected. We hired 2 this morning. A ripple of laughter passed through the room. Caleb glared at her. Emma smiled. We are growing. The shareholder vote removed Caleb from every position. The board then offered me the role of chief executive. My father expected me to accept. So did Caleb. I declined. You can't be serious, my father said. Reed Technologies needs new leadership. You built this company, and then all of you helped Caleb take it. Regret showed on my mother's face. We made mistakes. You made choices. My father lowered his voice. What do you want? Protection for the employees, an independent audit, restored credit for every engineer Caleb removed from the project. And after that, you repair what you allowed. I turned to leave. My father called my name. Nathan, we are still your family. I stopped. I hope someday we can become one again. But family is not a word you use after the danger has passed. It is what you do when believing someone costs you something. Emma waited beside the aisle. Ledger had escaped his carrier. He walked onto the stage and approached Caleb. For one hopeful moment, Caleb seemed to think the cat had chosen him. Ledger sniffed his shoe. Then he walked away and sat beside me. The audience laughed. Caleb closed his eyes. Even the cat, he muttered. Especially the cat, Emma said. Outside the auditorium, reporters surrounded us. Questions flew from every direction. Was Nathan returning to Reed Technologies? Would Northstar sue? Were Nathan and Emma romantically involved? That final question silenced the others. Emma looked at me. I looked at her. Ledger sat on my shoe. Yes, Emma said. The reporters erupted. I leaned closer. Was that an official corporate statement? No. Should we prepare one? She rose onto her toes and kissed me. Camera shutters exploded around us. When she stepped back, she smiled. You can draft it. Ledger meowed. Emma picked him up. No comment from the head of acquisitions. Chapter 8. The things we built. Caleb pleaded guilty to fraud, conspiracy, and unlawful access to company systems. Victor fought the charges for nearly a year. Hale Continental removed him before the criminal trial began. The bank's board cooperated with investigators in exchange for reduced penalties and restitution for affected borrowers. Victor sent Emma one final letter. She did not open it. Ledger did. He clawed one corner of the envelope, pulled out half the letter, and dragged it beneath the sofa. By the time Emma found it, several sentences were missing, and one paragraph had a bite mark. I think he edited it, I said. He improved it. She shredded what remained. Northstar expanded faster than any of us expected. Small delivery companies joined our network because our system gave them access to technology previously available only to national corporations. Martin ran operations. Priya led engineering. Emma handled strategy and finance. I concentrated on product development. Ledger continued stealing pens. Our new headquarters had both our names on the entrance. Nathan Reed, co-founder. Emma Lane, co-founder. Beneath them, someone placed a smaller plaque. Ledger Acquisitions. Emma claimed she did not know who ordered it. The invoice was charged to her card. A year after the board meeting, we held Northstar's anniversary party in the underground garage where Emma found Ledger. The space had been transformed with lights, music, and long tables. Employees brought their families. The local shelter hosted an adoption event near the entrance. Ledger sat on a velvet cushion, wearing his black bow tie. He looked furious about the presence of other cats. You were one of them once, Emma reminded him. Ledger turned his back. Success had damaged his humility. My parents attended the party. Our relationship remained careful. My father had apologized privately and publicly. My mother joined the company's Employee Relief Foundation. Forgiveness did not restore what had been lost, but it allowed something smaller and more honest to grow. At 9, Emma stepped outside to check the shelter tables. I followed. She wore a dark blue dress and carried a sleepy kitten against her chest. No, I said. I haven't asked anything. We already have Ledger. This one needs a home. They all need homes. Exactly. That argument leads to 20 cats. Ledger could use a team. He is already violating labor laws. She laughed and returned the kitten to a shelter volunteer. Then she noticed the lights. A pathway of small gold lamps led across the garage to the place where we first found Ledger. At the end waited a simple table. On it sat a framed photograph of our first office. 2 folding desks. 1 borrowed printer. Emma asleep in my coat. Ledger sprawled across a stack of financial reports. You took that picture? She asked. Priya did. I look terrible. You look beautiful. She slipped her hand into mine. What is this? There is something I should have done a long time ago. She looked at me. In the other life. In every life. I reached inside my jacket. The ring box was gone. I checked the other pocket. Nothing. Emma's lips twitched. Problem? No. You look concerned. I had a ring. Her eyes widened. You lost it. I did not lose it. We both turned. Ledger sat beneath the table. A thin silver chain hung from his mouth. The ring was attached to it. Ledger, I said carefully. He backed away. Emma began laughing. Do not encourage him. You trusted him with the ring. I trusted him for 12 seconds. Ledger ran. I followed. He passed beneath a table, circled a park delivery van, and entered the crowd. Employees cheered when they saw me chasing him. Martin attempted to block the cat. Ledger moved between his legs. Priya crouched with a piece of chicken. Ledger ignored her. He knows it is valuable, I shouted. That is why he is head of acquisitions. Emma followed us, laughing so hard she had to remove her shoes. Ledger ran up the decorative path, jumped onto the shelter table, and sat among 6 adoptable kittens. All 6 immediately climbed onto him. He froze beneath a pile of tiny paws. Emma reached him first. She removed the chain from his mouth and rescued him from the kittens. Ledger clung to her shoulder, dignity destroyed. I arrived out of breath. Everyone at the party had gathered around us. Perhaps, Emma said, we should return to the original plan. I no longer remember the original plan. She handed me the ring. It probably involved this. I looked at her beneath the warm lights. Around us stood the people who helped build our new life. My parents. Our employees. Our friends. A woman from the shelter holding 3 kittens. And Ledger, who had one paw tangled in Emma's hair. I lowered myself to one knee. Emma's laughter became a trembling breath. In my first life, I thought success meant building something no one could take from me, I said. Then I lost the company, my family, and you. Her eyes filled with tears. When I got another chance, I thought I came back to save everything, but you saved me first. Nathan. You believed in me when I had nothing. You challenged me when I was wrong. You stood beside me without ever asking me to become someone else. Ledger reached toward the ring. Emma moved him to her other shoulder. I love the company we built, I continued. I love the life we built, but most of all, I love every ordinary day I get to spend with you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Emma Lane, would you marry me? She looked down at Ledger. He attempted to grab the ring again. Emma caught his paw. I think he wants joint custody. He can have weekends. He lives with me. Then I want weekends. The crowd laughed. Emma looked back at me. Yes. Applause echoed through the garage. I slipped the ring onto her finger and stood. She wrapped her arms around me. Ledger was trapped between us for a moment, then climbed onto my shoulder. Emma kissed me. When we separated, she rested her forehead against mine. I'm glad you came earlier this time, she whispered. I'll always come for you. You don't have to. I know. That's why I believe you. She kissed me again. Ledger patted my cheek with one paw. I looked at him. Do you mind? He began purring directly into my ear. Emma smiled. He approves. He interrupted. He contains multitudes. We adopted one of the kittens before the night ended. Emma named her Margin. Ledger hated Margin for 3 days. On the 4th morning, we found them asleep together in his velvet bed. He pretended it had never happened. Epilogue: Home. Emma and I married 6 months later. We held the ceremony in the courtyard, behind North Star's headquarters. It was small by corporate standards and enormous by mine. Our employees attended. My parents sat in the 2nd row. Priya stood beside Emma. Martin stood beside me. Ledger carried the rings. After the engagement incident, this responsibility should never have been given to him again. Emma insisted he deserved an opportunity to repair his reputation. Ledger walked halfway down the aisle, noticed a butterfly, and abandoned the ceremony. Martin recovered him beside the fountain. The rings were still attached to his collar, although one was wet. Emma laughed through the entire exchange. I had once imagined a perfect wedding as something grand and flawless. I was wrong. Perfect was Emma laughing while a damp cat delayed our vows. Perfect was my mother crying quietly as we exchanged rings. Perfect was my father shaking my hand before pulling me into an awkward embrace. Perfect was Margin asleep on the train of Emma's dress. After the ceremony, Emma and I stood alone in my office. The city glowed beyond the windows. Music drifted up from the courtyard. Emma leaned against my desk, still wearing her wedding dress. Do you ever think about the other life? She asked. Sometimes. Do you miss anything? No. Not even Reed Technologies. I thought it was my life's work. And now? I looked through the glass wall. Ledger sat outside the office trying to open a gift bag. Margin waited to steal whatever he found. Our work is out there. Emma followed my gaze. The cats. The people. Good answer. She touched my tie. What happens when things become difficult again? They will. That wasn't very romantic. I'm being honest. She smiled. So what do? We take turns. Picking up the pieces. Yes. And if we're both tired? I nodded toward Ledger. We delegate. As if hearing us, Ledger pushed the office door open. His head emerged from the gift bag's handle. The bag covered most of his body and moved with him like a paper costume. Margin chased him into the office. Emma bent over laughing. Ledger collided with the desk, reversed, and walked into a chair. I removed the bag from his head. Inside was a card from our employees. On the front, someone had drawn the 3 of us standing beneath the North Star logo. Ledger occupied the center. Naturally. Emma read the handwritten message aloud. To Nathan and Emma, thank you for building a company where people are believed, valued, and never treated as replaceable. She looked up at me. "This is what you wanted." "No. What did you want?" I took the card from her and set it on the desk. Then I wrapped my arms around my wife. "This." She rested her head against my chest. Outside, the celebration continued. Inside, Margin climbed into an open drawer while Ledger pretended not to notice. I thought about the man I had been in my first life. He had spent years chasing the return of everything taken from him. His name, his company, his reputation. He never understood that getting something back was not the same as finding peace. My second life taught me something different. A company could be rebuilt. A family could change. A betrayal could be exposed. But love could not survive without trust. Emma had trusted me when I owned nothing but an idea. I had trusted her when the world believed she had returned to Victor. That trust became Northstar's true foundation. Not software. Not money. Not revenge. Us. Emma lifted her face. "You're staring again." "I know. Is this going to happen for the rest of our lives?" "Yes." She considered that. "I can live with it." Ledger jumped onto the desk and pushed the card onto the floor. Margin attacked it. Emma sighed. "Our children are misbehaving. They take after you." She narrowed her eyes. "You should reconsider that statement. I'm protected by marital privilege. That is not how it works." I kissed her before she could continue. She smiled against my lips. Behind us, something crashed. We turned. Ledger sat beside a fallen wedding gift. Margin hid inside the wrapping paper. Neither cat moved. Emma placed both hands on her hips. "Which one of you did that?" Ledger looked at Margin. Margin looked at Ledger. I looked at Emma. She tried to remain stern. She failed. Her laughter filled the office. I joined her. Once I believed I had returned to the past to stop my brother from stealing my company. Maybe that had been part of it. But I knew the real reason now. I had returned for an empty chair. For a woman who had sacrificed everything because she thought it would save me. For the chance to tell her she never needed to disappear. For an office above a bakery. For 2 names on a door. For a gray cat with 1 white paw. For ordinary mornings, difficult nights, shared burdens, and laughter after things broke. I had returned because the first time I found the truth too late. This time I found Emma. And together we built a home no one could take from us. Aftermath, what we built after the storm. 1 year later. 1 year after our wedding, Ledger received a formal complaint from the Northstar Logistics Accounting Department. The complaint accused him of theft, destruction of company property, unauthorized access to executive offices, and sleeping during business hours. All 4 accusations were true. Emma stood behind her desk, holding the printed complaint while Ledger sat in her chair. He had somehow managed to turn the chair toward the window, giving the impression that he was contemplating the city while waiting for his attorney. "This is serious," Emma told him. Ledger flicked one ear. "You stole 3 pens from accounting." He looked at Margin. Margin was sitting on the carpet with one of the pens between her paws. "You cannot blame your sister." Ledger continued looking at her. Margin pushed the pen beneath the sofa and walked away. I leaned against the office door. He has maintained his innocence. He was seen entering the accounting department. Circumstantial evidence. His paw prints were on the desk. "He works here." Emma tried to remain stern. She failed. Her mouth curved into a smile as she placed the complaint on the desk. Fine, he can keep his position, but he has to return everything he took. Ledger jumped out of her chair and walked from the office. A few seconds later, we heard something fall in the hallway. Emma closed her eyes. He is destroying the evidence. He learned from Victor. She gave me a warning look. Victor Hale had been sentenced 6 months earlier. After a lengthy trial, he was convicted of financial fraud, illegal surveillance, conspiracy, and obstruction. The evidence Emma retrieved, along with the records hidden on the memory card Ledger found, gave prosecutors everything they needed. Victor's final appearance in court had been televised. He entered wearing an expensive suit and the same confident expression he had carried throughout his career. He left without either. Caleb received a reduced sentence after agreeing to testify against him. He had tried to present himself as another victim of Victor's manipulation, but the financial records proved Caleb had willingly participated in the plan. For years, Caleb had believed he deserved everything I built. In prison, he finally owned something that belonged entirely to him. His consequences. Emma came around the desk and stopped in front of me. You've been quiet today. I have. You spent most of the morning staring out the window. That sounds productive. It looked dramatic. I'm the chief executive. Dramatic staring is one of my responsibilities. She straightened my tie. You're worried about the meeting. I'm not worried. You reorganized your desk. I like organization. You alphabetized your snacks. That was overdue. You put pretzels before protein bars. Pretzels begin with P. So do protein bars. I considered this. That explains why it took so long. Emma smiled, but her eyes remained concerned. My parents were arriving at North Star that afternoon. It would be their first official visit since the wedding. My father had asked for the meeting. He claimed it concerned Reed Technologies, but I suspected there was more to it. Our relationship had improved during the previous year, although progress came slowly. My parents had apologized. They had attended counseling. They had publicly admitted that they ignored evidence against Caleb because believing him had been easier than admitting their family was broken. Words helped. Actions helped more. My father established a compensation fund for employees harmed by Caleb's decisions. My mother worked with the engineers whose careers had been damaged. They were trying. I was trying too. Forgiveness was not a door that opened once. It was a road. Some days we moved forward. On other days, all I could remember was the boardroom and the way my parents looked at me while voting to take away my life's work. Emma touched my cheek. You don't have to agree to anything. I know. Your father cannot order you to return. I know. You don't owe Reed Technologies your future. I know. She narrowed her eyes. If you say, I know again, I'm sending Ledger to negotiate for you. I smiled. He'll demand complete ownership and a box of chicken. He has aggressive terms. I took her hand. What would I do without you? Your calendar would collapse within 48 hours. I meant emotionally. Oh. A faint blush appeared on her cheeks, even after a year of marriage. She looked down at our joined hands. You'd survive. I did survive. My voice softened. I just wasn't living very well. Emma lifted her eyes. I still caught her looking surprised when I said things like that. Victor had taught her to question every sweet word, searching for the obligation hidden behind it. I never wanted my love to feel like a debt she had to repay. So I told her often, not only during anniversaries or important moments. I told her in elevators. I told her while she reviewed budgets. I told her when she wore formal dresses, and when she sat on our kitchen floor trying to convince Ledger to release a stolen sock. She moved closer and wrapped her arms around me. "I love you too," she whispered. Margin entered the office carrying a paper cup in her mouth. She stepped onto the carpet, tipped the cup over, and spilled several paper clips. Emma released me. "Where did she get those?" Margin looked toward the hallway. Ledger appeared behind her. He carried the accounting complaint in his mouth. "You see," I said, "he's cooperating with the investigation." Ledger dropped the paper into Margin's scattered clips. Then he sat on it. Emma pointed toward the door. "Both of you out." The cats did not move. She looked at me. "That includes their attorney." I object. Overruled. I followed Ledger and Margin into the hallway. Behind us, Emma laughed. It was still my favorite sound in the world. The offer my parents arrived at 2 o'clock. My father looked around North Star's headquarters as I led them through the building. The business had grown from 8 employees to nearly 400. We now operated in 11 states. Our software supported independent delivery companies, hospitals, disaster response teams, and small businesses that could not afford expensive national carriers. North Star had become more valuable than Reed Technologies had ever been. That was not the part that made me proudest. The names of every original engineer appeared on the wall outside our development department. Employees owned shares. No executive could claim another person's work. Every decision that affected the workforce required employee representation. We had built the company Caleb could never have understood. My mother stopped beside the development wall. She found my name. Then she found Priya S. Beneath ours appeared dozens of others. "You listed everyone," she said. "They built it." At Reed Technologies, the product was always associated with the Reed family. That was the problem. My father said nothing. We entered the conference room. Emma waited inside with Priya and Martin. Ledger occupied the chairman's seat. Margin was nowhere in sight, which was usually more concerning than knowing where she was. My father looked at the cat. "Does he always sit there?" "Only when we have important guests," Emma said. Ledger closed his eyes. "He seems very welcoming." "He is evaluating you." My mother approached him carefully. Ledger allowed her to scratch beneath his chin. "You've been accepted," I told her. My father extended one finger. Ledger turned his head away. "And you're still under review." My father nearly smiled. We sat. Emma took the chair beside mine. My father placed a blue folder on the table. "Reed Technologies has recovered," he began. "I've seen the reports. We've repaid the emergency loans. The employee fund is fully financed, and the company has recorded 3 profitable quarters." "That's good." "The board wants to merge with North Star." No one spoke. My father pushed the folder toward me. The combined company would dominate the logistics technology market. North Star has the software. Reed Technologies has the infrastructure and long-term contracts. I did not touch the folder. Who would control the combined company? "You and Emma." Emma looked at me but said nothing. My father continued. "I would step down. The current board would be dissolved, and North Star's employee ownership structure would be applied to the combined organization." "Why?" "Because you were right." The admission did not come easily. My father clasped his hands. I spent my life believing the company was the family's legacy. I used that belief to justify things that should never have happened. My mother looked down. We protected the company instead of protecting our son. My father nodded. And we nearly lost both. I opened the folder. The offer was real. No hidden controlling shares. No special family voting rights. The Reed name would not even appear in the merged company's title. Why now? I asked. My father looked through the glass wall at the employees outside. Because I finally understand that a legacy isn't something your children are forced to preserve. It is something they should be free to improve. I glanced at Emma. What do you think? My father seemed surprised that I asked her first. That surprise told me how far we had come and how far he still had to go. Emma examined the proposal. The infrastructure would allow us to expand internationally 2 years ahead of schedule. She turned a page. But Reed Technologies still has environmental liabilities connected to 3 distribution centers. We are addressing them, my father said. Addressing them is not the same as resolving them. Her tone remained professional. My father nodded slowly. What would you require? Full environmental remediation before the merger, independent oversight, guaranteed positions for employees from both companies, no executive retention bonuses until the worker compensation program is complete. My father looked at me. She negotiates like you. No, I replied, she negotiates better. Emma's knee touched mine beneath the table. My father studied her for a moment. Then he nodded. Agreed. Ledger stood and placed both front paws on the blue folder. My mother smiled. Does that mean he approves? Emma shook her head. It means the folder is now his. Ledger dragged it toward the edge of the table. I rescued the proposal before he could push it onto the floor. We'll review everything, I said. My father rose. That's all I ask. Before he left, he stopped beside me. I know I haven't earned the right to say this. Say what? That I'm proud of you. A year earlier, those words might have filled the empty place I carried for most of my life. Now they touched something different. Not a wound. A scar. I spent a long time waiting to hear that, I said. I know. I'm glad you finally said it. He looked almost relieved. I continued. But I stopped needing it. Pain passed across his face. I did not say it to punish him. It was simply the truth. He nodded. Perhaps that is what I should be proudest of. He offered his hand. I looked at it. Then I embraced him. My father froze. After a moment, his arms closed around me. It was brief and awkward. It was also real. When we separated, my mother was crying. Emma discreetly handed her a tissue. Ledger attempted to take it. A letter from Caleb 2 weeks after the meeting. A letter arrived from Caleb. It was addressed to me in handwriting I barely recognized. Nathan, I have started this letter 11 times. Every version sounded like an excuse. Maybe that is because excuses are all I have. You were always better than me. That is what I believed anyway. Every time Father praised you, I heard him saying there was nothing special about me. I could have built something of my own. Instead, I decided it would be easier to take what you built. Victor knew how angry I was. He used it, but I won't pretend the choices weren't mine. They were. I don't expect forgiveness. I only want you to know that I finally understand why I could never make your system work. It wasn't because I lacked your intelligence. It was because I only saw the software. You saw the people depending on it. I'm sorry. Caleb, I read it twice. Then I placed it in my desk drawer. Emma entered carrying 2 cups of tea. Was it from him? Yes. Do you believe him? I believe he regrets where his choices led. That isn't what I asked. I don't know yet. She sat on the edge of my desk. Are you going to answer? Not today. That's fair. I looked at the drawer. He was my little brother. He still is. He tried to destroy me. Yes. Both things are true. Emma handed me the tea. That's usually what makes forgiveness difficult. Do you forgive Victor? No. Her answer was immediate. I looked at her. Do you think you ever will? I don't know. She wrapped both hands around her cup. I spent years thinking forgiveness meant I had to stop being angry. Now, I think it means his actions no longer get to decide how I live. That sounds like forgiveness. It sounds like expensive therapy. I smiled. She rested her foot against mine. You don't have to forgive Caleb to prove you're a good person. I know. You also don't have to hate him to prove that what he did was wrong. I reached for the letter. At the bottom of the page, I wrote 3 sentences. Caleb, I received your letter. I am not ready to forgive you. But if you continue telling the truth, perhaps one day we can speak. Nathan, I mailed it before I could change my mind. The secret Emma was keeping after the merger agreement was finalized. Emma began behaving strangely. She arrived late 3 mornings in a row. She stopped drinking coffee. She canceled 2 dinner meetings. Most suspiciously, she began closing her laptop whenever I entered our bedroom. I tried not to panic. Trust was not the absence of fear. It was the decision not to let fear write the story before the truth arrived. So I waited. For 4 days. On the 5th, I found Ledger sitting outside the bathroom door. He looked concerned. Margin sat beside him. Neither cat had attempted to enter, which was more alarming than if they had been scratching at the door. I knocked. Emma. I'm fine. You have been in there for 20 minutes. I'm aware. Ledger is concerned. He is concerned because I didn't give him breakfast. He received breakfast. Then he's pretending to be concerned. Ledger meowed. Do you want me to come in? I asked. There was a pause. Yes. Emma sat on the edge of the bathtub. Her face was pale. A small plastic test rested on the counter. For a moment, I did not understand what I was seeing. Then I did. I looked at her. She looked at me. You're pregnant. She nodded. Every thought disappeared from my head. I sat beside her. Are you all right? Yes. Are you sure? I took 3 tests. I meant, how do you feel? Nervous. About the baby. About everything. I took her hand. She stared at our fingers. My mother didn't handle pregnancy well. The doctor says there's no reason to think I'll have the same difficulties, but her voice faded. I waited. What if I'm not good at this? You will be. You can't know that. I know you. Nathan, running a company is not the same as raising a child. No, a child will probably steal fewer pens than Ledger. A small laugh escaped her. I lifted her hand to my lips. You don't have to pretend you aren't scared. Are you? Terrified. She looked surprised. You seem calm. I'm having a private breakdown. That sounds efficient. I scheduled it for 3. She leaned against me. What if we make mistakes? We will. You're not supposed to say that. We will make mistakes, apologize, learn, and try again. I rested one hand gently over hers. Our child will never have to be perfect to earn our love. Tears filled Emma's eyes. Promise. I promise. The bathroom door moved. Ledger pushed his head through the narrow opening. Margin climbed over him. Both cats entered and sat in front of us. Emma wiped her eyes. How are we going to explain this to them? They already think they're our children. Ledger approached the pregnancy test. I reached it first. No. He looked offended. This is not an acquisition. Margin jumped onto Emma's lap. Emma winced as the cat stepped on her stomach. I quickly lifted Margin away. Careful. Emma stared at me. What? You've known for 30 seconds. I am adapting. You don't have to wrap me in protective material. I'll order some. Nathan. Fine, no protective material. I knelt in front of her. This is really happening. Yes. We're having a baby. Her nervous smile became something bright and beautiful. We're having a baby. I kissed her. Ledger placed both paws on my back. Margin tried to climb my leg. Our first family celebration lasted approximately 12 seconds before becoming a rescue operation. It felt appropriate. The final move from Victor Hale, we announced the pregnancy 3 months later. Most people responded with love. Victor Hale responded with a lawsuit. From prison, he claimed Emma had illegally accessed his financial records and that the evidence used against him should have been excluded. His attorneys also alleged that I manipulated Emma into helping me because of our romantic relationship. The appeal had little chance of succeeding. That was not Victor's real objective. He wanted to damage Emma's reputation one final time. Several news organizations repeated the allegations. Anonymous accounts began spreading old photographs from Emma's marriage. One article described her as a woman who moved from one powerful executive to another. I found her sitting in the nursery one evening. The walls were still unpainted. Boxes filled the floor. Emma held her phone tightly. I took it from her. You don't need to read those. I know. What Victor says does not matter. I know. I sat beside her. She looked toward the empty crib. What happens when our child reads these things someday? We tell the truth. What if the truth isn't enough? It was enough for us. Emma shook her head. I don't want our child growing up inside our conflicts. Then we end this one. The next morning, Emma held a press conference. Her attorneys advised against it. The board advised against it. I told her the choice belonged to her. She stood at the North Star podium with me beside her. Ledger sat beneath the podium. He had not been invited, but removing him on live television seemed more disruptive than allowing him to stay. Emma looked directly into the cameras. For years, Victor Hale decided how my story would be told, she began. When I left our marriage, he told people I was confused. When I built a career, he claimed I owed it to him. When I helped expose his crimes, he said I had been manipulated by another man. Her hands rested calmly on the podium. I am not confused. I was not manipulated. And I am not ashamed. The room remained silent. I helped obtain evidence against Victor because he committed crimes. I helped build North Star because I believed in its mission. I married Nathan because I love him. Ledger emerged from beneath the podium. He walked in front of the cameras and sat directly beside Emma's shoe. A few reporters smiled. Emma looked down. And this cat has repeatedly stolen company property, but our lawyers have advised me not to comment further. Laughter broke through the room. Even Emma smiled. Then she continued. Victor's appeal is his legal right. Attempting to shame me into silence is not. I will not spend the rest of my life defending my right to leave someone who treated love as ownership. She looked toward me. I did not step forward. This was her moment. Her voice. Her victory. I am Emma Lane. I'm a co-founder of North Star Logistics. I am Nathan Reed's wife. I will soon be a mother. Camera flashes filled the room. None of those identities erased the others, and none of them belonged to Victor Hale. The appeal was rejected 2 weeks later. Victor never contacted her again. A different kind of legacy. The merger between North Star and Reed Technologies was completed before our daughter was born. The new organization retained the North Star name. My father stepped down. Emma and I remained co-chief executives, although she took maternity leave 3 weeks before the due date only because her doctor threatened to personally confiscate her laptop. Emma tried to bring it home. I hid the charger. She ordered another. Ledger stole the package before she opened it. For once, he used his powers responsibly. Our daughter, Nora Lane Reed, was born on a rainy Tuesday morning. She had Emma's eyes. She also had a powerful cry that terrified every cat within 100 feet. When we brought her home, Ledger approached the carrier with great caution. Margin hid behind the sofa. Nora made a soft noise. Ledger jumped backward. Emma sat on the couch, holding the baby. Come meet your sister. Ledger looked at me. You heard her. He approached one careful step at a time. When he reached Emma, he sniffed Nora's blanket. Nora's tiny hand emerged and closed around one of his whiskers. Ledger froze. I gently freed him. He retreated to the other end of the couch. I think that went well, Emma said. He appears traumatized. He'll adjust. Ledger did adjust. Within a week, he slept beneath Nora's crib. Within a month, he followed anyone who carried her. If she cried, he ran to find Emma or me. Margin became responsible for entertainment. She sat beside Nora's playmat and moved her tail slowly from side to side. Nora watched it with complete fascination. The cats had spent years treating our home as their private kingdom. They accepted Nora as their queen. 3 months after her birth, my parents visited for dinner. My father held Nora as if she were made of glass. My mother watched Emma with Ledger asleep beside her, and Margin curled near the baby's feet. This house feels different, she said. Different from what? I asked. From the home where you grew up. I understood what she meant. There was noise. A bottle drying beside the sink. Cat toys beneath the furniture. Unanswered work messages. A pile of laundry on a chair. Nothing was arranged to impress anyone. Nothing had to be perfect. It is different, I said. My mother's eyes filled with regret. I'm sorry ours wasn't more like this. I looked at Emma. She smiled tiredly while trying to keep Ledger from stealing a piece of chicken from her plate. I turned back to my mother. So am I. Nora stirred in my father's arms. He looked alarmed. What do I do? Support her head. I am. Then breathe. I am breathing. You don't look like it. My father exhaled. Nora opened her eyes. For a moment, they stared at each other. Then she yawned and went back to sleep. My father's expression softened. I miss so much with you and Caleb. You were working. That is what I told myself. He touched Nora's tiny hand. I thought building the company was how I took care of the family. Sometimes taking care of the family means being there. I know that now. His regret could not change my childhood. But perhaps it could change Nora's. That mattered. 5 years later, on North Star's 10th anniversary, our daughter decided she was old enough to join the company. Nora was 5. She carried a purple backpack, wore one red shoe and one blue shoe, and had created her own employee badge with crayons. Her title was Senior Cat Manager. Ledger was older now. Gray fur had begun appearing around his face, although he remained fully committed to corporate crime. Margin had grown into a quiet, elegant cat who committed her crimes privately. Nora entered my office holding Ledger beneath his front legs. His back legs dragged along the carpet. "Nora," I said, "put him down. He has a meeting." Ledger looked at me with the exhausted expression of an executive who had not approved his schedule. "What kind of meeting?" "He took my cookie." "That sounds like a disciplinary hearing." "Yes." She placed him in the chair across from my desk. Ledger immediately jumped onto the desk and sat on a contract. Emma entered behind them. She kissed my cheek. "Your daughter has reorganized the marketing department." "Our daughter? She gets this from you." Her badge is written in purple crayon. "You used purple on North Star's original business plan." I had one marker. Nora climbed into my lap. "Daddy, when can I run the company?" "When you're older." "How old?" 40. Emma laughed. "I was thinking 25. 38. Nora frowned. "That's too long. You can begin in the mailroom." "What's that?" "A place that teaches humility." Ledger pushed the contract onto the floor. Nora pointed. "He can work there too." After she left to take Ledger to his new position, Emma sat on the edge of my desk. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't come back?" "Less often than I used to." "Do you think the other version of us could have found their way back to each other?" I thought about the rainy street outside the shelter. Emma kneeling beside Ledger. Me standing across the road, too ashamed to approach. "I hope so." She took my hand. "I think I would have forgiven you. I didn't deserve it." "That isn't always why we forgive people." A familiar voice spoke from the office doorway. "Is this a bad time?" Caleb stood there. He had been released from prison 2 months earlier. He looked thinner, older. There was no expensive suit, no executive confidence, and no audience waiting to applaud him. Only my younger brother holding a small wrapped box. I had agreed to meet him. That did not mean I was prepared. Emma squeezed my hand. "I'll find Nora. You can stay." "Are you sure?" "Yes." Caleb entered carefully. "I brought something for your daughter." He placed the package on the desk. "She likes puzzles, right?" "How did you know?" "Mom told me." Silence settled between us. Caleb looked at the North Star photographs on the wall. "You built everything we used to talk about." "We built it." He glanced at Emma. "Yes, you did." Emma nodded to him. There was no warmth in the gesture, but there was no hostility either. Caleb looked back at me. "I got a job." "Where?" "A community shipping center." "Doing what?" "Inventory." The brother who once believed he deserved to be a chief executive now counted packages in a warehouse. He did not sound ashamed. "I like it," he said. "When something goes missing, I can usually find it." "Ledger could use your services." Caleb almost smiled. I heard about the cat. He has a reputation. I saw the press conference. Another silence. Caleb lowered his eyes. I meant what I wrote. I know. I don't expect us to be brothers again. We never stopped being brothers. He looked up. That doesn't mean we're all right. No. Maybe someday. I thought about Emma's empty chair. The boardroom. Our father's stroke in another life. Every employee who lost a career because of Caleb's jealousy. Then I thought about the letter he sent and the years he spent accepting responsibility. Maybe, I said. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a door left unlocked. Nora ran into the office. Ledger followed at a slower pace. She stopped when she saw Caleb. Who are you? Caleb looked at me. This is your uncle, I said. Nora examined him with open curiosity. Do you like cats? I think so. She pointed at Ledger. He steals. I used to steal too. Emma and I both looked at him. Caleb's face turned red. I mean, Nora handed him Ledger. Then you can teach him not to. Caleb accepted the cat awkwardly. Ledger sniffed him. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then Ledger placed one paw against Caleb's chest. Caleb looked at me. Does this mean he accepts me? He is checking your pockets. Ledger pushed his nose into Caleb's jacket. Nora giggled. Caleb laughed. It was a sound I had not heard since we were children. Something inside me loosened. Not enough to erase the past. Just enough to make room for a different future. The home no one could take that evening. Emma and I sat on the back porch while Nora played in the yard. Ledger watched her from beneath a chair. Margin slept in Emma's lap. The sunset turned the clouds gold and pink. Do you think you'll forgive Caleb? Emma asked. Eventually. You're not rushing. No. That's probably wise. I placed my arm around her. Do you regret staying for the meeting? No. Do you regret anything? Marrying a man who alphabetizes snacks incorrectly. I corrected the system. Protein bars are under B. Bars protein. That is unacceptable. Nora ran toward us. Ledger followed. She held something in both hands. I found a treasure. She opened her palms. Inside was my missing watch. I had lost it 3 months earlier. Emma looked at Ledger. He stopped walking. Where did you find that? She asked. In Ledger's outside box. Ledger turned around. He began walking slowly toward the house. Ledger, Emma called. The cat moved faster. Margin lifted her head. Ledger ran. Nora chased him. Margin jumped from Emma's lap and joined the pursuit. Within seconds, all three disappeared through the back door. Something crashed inside. Emma closed her eyes. What do you think they broke? Something insured. She leaned against me. Should we check? In a minute. We sat beneath the fading sky. There would always be something to repair. Companies, families, trust, occasionally furniture. But we no longer feared broken things. We had become good at rebuilding. Not recreating what existed before. Building something kinder. Something honest. Something that allowed mistakes without turning love into a reward. Emma rested her head against my shoulder. Nora's laughter drifted through the open door. A cat raced past the window with a ribbon trailing behind him. Once I thought getting a second life meant correcting the past. I was wrong. The past could not be corrected. It could only be understood. My second chance was not about saving the old company, defeating my brother, or punishing Victor. It was about choosing differently when the same fear returned. It was trusting Emma when losing her terrified me. It was allowing my parents to change without pretending they had never hurt me. It was leaving space for Caleb to become more than his worst decision. It was raising Nora in a home where she would never have to compete for love. It was knowing that when something fell apart, we would face it together. Emma's fingers slipped between mine. "You're staring again," she said. "I know. Still planning to do that for the rest of our lives." "Yes." "You realize we already used that line." "I like consistency." She smiled. Inside the house, Nora shouted, "Mommy, Ledger is in the cabinet." Emma sighed. "Which cabinet?" "The snack cabinet." We both stood. "Your son," she told me. "He takes after you." "Nathan." We hurried inside. Ledger sat on the highest shelf beside an open bag of treats. Margin waited below while he pushed them down one at a time. Nora held the bag open. It was a coordinated operation. Emma stood in the doorway with her hands on her hips. All three participants froze. I looked at my wife. She looked at me. Then Nora started giggling. I laughed. Emma attempted to remain stern for approximately 2 seconds. She failed. Our laughter filled the kitchen. It filled the home we had built from trust, patience, and an unreasonable amount of stolen cat food. The first time I lived this life, I lost everything while trying to protect a company. The second time, I learned the truth. A company was not a legacy. Neither was money, power, or a famous name. A legacy was the way Nora ran into my arms whenever I returned home. It was the strength Emma found after years of being silenced. It was my father learning to apologize. It was my brother finally choosing honesty when dishonesty had cost him everything. It was Ledger sleeping beneath Nora's bed and Margin curled beside him. Our legacy was not something stored in a vault or written into a contract. It was the love inside this noisy, imperfect house. And no one could ever steal it from us.